8 p.m. news on STV coming up. Internally displaced persons in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon begin receiving gifts gathered in the humanitarian plan. Today's beneficiaries are thankful, but Northwest Governor Adolphe Lele-Lafrique urges others to come and take their own share of the cake. Sports football, Clarence Sidorf and his assistants Patrick Coulivet are to officially become coaches of the national male team. They are presently meeting with the sports minister Pierre Ismael Bidunkwat to sign their contract in Yaoundé. Those were top stories. Hello, good evening and welcome. 8 petitions have been received by members of the Constitutional Council exactly 48 hours after the publication of presidential candidates by Elections Cameroon. These appeals were dropped by candidates who had their files rejected on August 7 out of 18 files. Reasons being non-respect of the Electoral Code, that is incomplete financial deposit, failure to get 300 signatures around the country, amongst others. Deliberations would determine if one of the 8 files can be pushed forth. We continue talking about Elections Cameroon and the 9 presidential candidates. Professor Maurice Kamto is one of the 6 new faces gunning for this year's presidential position. The chairman of the Cameroon Renaissance Movement has in recent time been a major tile in the country's political landscape. Peter Saucier profiles the aspirant in this report.
Professor Maurice Kamto was born on the 15th of February 1954 in Bafoussam, west region of the country. After his primary and secondary education, he obtained a degree in public law into the University of Yaoundé in 1979 and moved to France, where he backed a graduate diploma in international studies plus advanced diplomas in European Community Studies, international law and basic public law from the University of Nice in 1980. 2 years later, Kamto went to Paris, where he snatched a diploma in public administration and returned to Nice, where he defended and obtained his PhD in law in 1983. Professor Maurice Kamto is a distinguished international legal expert, having served as counsel for the Republic of Cameroon before the International Court of Justice in the dispute over the Bakassi Peninsula with Nigeria. He has also defended Niger and Guinea-Conakry in similar boundary disputes. Kamto has held several positions at the International Law Commission and is a member of the Curatorium of the Hague Academy of International Law. Following his decisive contribution in the Bakassi affair, the now 60-year-old was appointed Minister Delegate at the Ministry of Justice in 2004. After 7 years, he resigned and formed his party, the Cameroon Renaissance Movement. Since 2011, the Cameroon Renaissance Movement has become an active movement in the country's political landscape. It is the first time Maurice Kamto is gunning for the presidential stool in
Amundam Joya, chairman of the Cameroon Democratic Union CDU, is one of those old guns vying for the post of president and looking forward to win come October 7 for the first time after 3 tries. John Paul Sama tells us more.
Running for the 4th time as president of Cameroon, Adamundam Joya of the Cameroon Democratic Union Party CDU will be looking forward to better his performances after unsuccessfully taking part in 1992, 2004 and the 2011 presidential race. The 76-year-old politician, lawyer, author and professor has a rich political background spanning decades, which has seen him serve 2 terms at the National Assembly and held the post of mayor of Fumban. In December 1990, when multi-party politics was allowed in Cameroon, he created the Cameroon Democratic Union. At the 1992 elections, he came fourth with 3.6% of the vote. In the presidential election held on the 11th of October 2004, he led an opposition coalition without the Social Democratic Front's party, registering 4.47%. Damjoya again stood as the CDU candidate but finished 3rd with 1.73%. He now has the singular pleasure once more to represent the CDU party at this year's presidential elections, looking to better his previous result. He will be counting on his rich educational background and experience in ministries like education, foreign affairs, as well as his time at the helm of the International Relations Institute of Cameroon, IRIC, where he served as pioneer director from 1972 to 1975. From 1982 to 1990, Adamu Damjoya focused on his writing and teaching, as well as donating his time to philanthropic endeavors. He has written in the field of law, political science, history, international relations and political ideas, as well as theatrical pieces, poems and fictions. The political guru is currently married and a father of 5 and looking forward to becoming the next president of Cameroon.
Some displaced persons in the Meme division, that is in the southwest region of Cameroon, have received bags of rice, salt, cartons of Maggi, soap and vegetable oil. The gifts handed to them by Meme SDO Chamberlain Tuondong is in line with the government humanitarian plan to northwest and southwest internally displaced persons. Daniela Neba, Marcelito.
The senior divisional officer for Meme Chamberlain Tuondong has launched activities to kickstart the distribution of government humanitarian aid to thousands of displaced persons in Meme division. The exercise took place yesterday, Wednesday, August 8, at the Kumba Amusement Park in the presence of some displaced persons and saw the distribution of items such as mattresses, bags of rice, bags of salt, blankets, pockets, cartons of Maggi, soaps, sardine and vegetable oil, and a host of others. Meme SDO, in his address, told the population that the head of state knows their problems. That is why he has sent these items to assist them during this period. He called on those who are still afraid to come out in their numbers and collect the items.
Let me seize this opportunity to continue to sensitize my population. Those who are afraid to come, you see, all those things are for them. They have just to come here, Town Green, come and collect their own share. The head of state is our father, and he's taking care of all the children. That is why he sent this particular gift to my population in Meme.
The administrator disclosed that in the days ahead, him and his team will go down to highly affected subdivisions like Bonge to distribute the items.
You know, some other areas are a little bit far, like Bonge, but the truth is that with time, the SDO will move to Bonge with my force and order to try to discuss, to try to share all those gifts with the population who are living inside the bushes.
The few courageous persons who came out to collect the items said it is going to ameliorate their living conditions.
Help us to cover ourselves, do sleep, we use the loin to cover ourselves.
Others, however, promised to share with their friends and relatives who were unable to come out and collect these items for one reason or the other.
Yes, I'm going to share the gift with my people who are running from the bush. I will go and share it for them. We'll eat together. I will not eat alone.
Meantime, the distribution of these items continues at the Kumba Amusement Park on a daily basis, and displaced persons from all the nooks and crannies are being encouraged to make use of them.
The same exercise took place in Bamenda today, and displaced persons have been urged to register and benefit from the humanitarian plan. Northwest Governor Adolphe Lelin-Lafrique told this to the other people when he handed over toiletries, basic and social amenities to some 100 men, women and children. Youths have been encouraged to be more active in the electoral process in a bid to choose their leaders while taking part in decision-making processes. This was during a forum Youths and Citizenship organized by Un Monde Avenir here in Douala today. John Paul Sama.
Given that the youths make up about half of the voting college in Cameroon, but are hardly found in decision-making organs like the Parliament, Senate, amongst others, it has become necessary that they be provided a platform where they can interact with future presidential hopefuls in decision-making processes which will impact their future. During a forum, Youth and Citizenship, organized by Un Monde Avenir.
People who make up like 60% of the population of Cameroon have, not really been very much involved in the political process. In the last elections, for example, they were highly underrepresented. Now it's an opportunity for young people to actually get out and vote for the next president of Cameroon. And I was just mentioning a while ago that we are 60% of the population. We have the power to be able to determine who becomes the president of Cameroon in the next election. And I really wanted to add my voice to that of the other participants who have actually made us aware of the enormous power that we as young people have, and that we should utilize it positively for change, for positive change in Cameroon during the next elections.
This maiden forum, which witnessed a massive turnout from aspiring presidential candidates and their representatives, was aimed at improving the participation of young people in the construction of democracy.
That I would like to appreciate about this forum is that I think it's the first of its kind to see young people actually put face to face with the candidates, so that they can exchange and hear from each other, and have the young people have the opportunity to present their concerns to the candidates, both running at the local level as well as at the national level for the presidential elections. It's been very, very interesting so far. The questions that they have been able to raise, the concerns that they have been able to present to these candidates, I think some of them have been really eye-opening. Some of them were not even on the manifestos of the candidates, and they've actually said, these questions that are being raised now are important, and that they would find a way to, incorporate and integrate the issues of the young people.
This gathering that brought together youth leaders from over 6 regions of the country is aimed at building their capacities to make an objective choice come legislative and presidential elections.
Talking about youths, those in the southwest region of the country have been told to be ambassadors of peace by embracing core values as prescribed by the Commonwealth. This is from the Minister Delegate in charge of External Relations, Felix Bayo, as he launched a popularization campaign in Boya. Clarice Ekore reports.
Holding at the Boya Council chambers, this opening ceremony of the Commonwealth Popularization Campaign dotted Unity in Diversity, inspiring Cameroonian youth through Commonwealth core values and principles of the respect of the rule of law, tolerance, mutual respect and understanding, which brought together youth from all the divisions of the Southwest region. Amongst other top brass of the region was to emphasize on the role of youth as ambassadors of peace, especially with the present insecurity context plaguing the country due to the ongoing Anglophone crisis.
A few weeks ago in Yaoundé, the Minister of Youth Affairs and Civic Education launched a youth card. This youth card is a facility whereby there is a reduction in almost everything you do as a young person between the ages of 15 and 35.
Officiating the event, the Minister Delegate in charge of External Relations, Mr. Felix Bayo, in his opening speech, started by applauding the courage and conviction of youth who attended the event. He further called on youth to embrace the core values and principles of mutual respect and understanding, respect for the rule of law as a solution to the current crisis.
Has to come and organize this workshop, this popularization campaign, to help the youth to re-internalize those values, which are time-tested. These are values which have served as pillars of social cohesion in most societies. Values which have served as pillars of mutual understanding and which has helped peace building and mutual understanding.
Cognizance with the challenges plaguing youth in this part of the region who have been forced to seek refuge in bushes, a clarion call was made by the Minister Delegate for them to drop all arms and return back home, prioritize education by sending children to school come September. The mayor of the Boya municipality on his part lauded the initiative of the Commonwealth, which is described as timely for the reformation of youths in this part of the Southwest region.
Jean-Claude Buenchu, Minister of Housing and Urban Development, has visited low-cost houses in the south region of the country. He went down to evaluate work done so far. We surely shall be coming back to that in the course of this newscast. In economics, the third phase of the Economic Partnership Agreement with the European Union is underway with 2,711 products to benefit tax exonerations. This follows the first and second phases that have negatively affected customs revenue in the country. Peter Sosi.
The third phase of the implementation of the Economic Partnership Agreement in Cameroon is well on course, with 2,711 products of the third group already benefiting from tariff dismantling since August 4, 2018, marked by an increase in the level of tariff dismantling on products of the first group from 25 to 50% and second group products from 15 to 25%. The Cameroon Customs has released the list of products concerned, their tax reduction rates, and EU countries concerned. By implication, first group products will now benefit a 75% tax exoneration, while second group commodities are 30% tax-free on imports. The Economic Partnership Agreement kicked off in the country in 2016 with 1,760 products under the first group and 917 products in the second, targeted by tax-free measures from EU countries.
Brief, councillors and the mayor of the Douala II Council have met today to evaluate the midterm execution of the 2018 budget. Assembled at the council hall, it was disclosed that in the second term, that is by June 30th, income received stood at about 1 billion CFA, making a 43.98%. Nonetheless, Mayor Denise Fampu called on administrative authorities and partners to assist them meet up with the fiscal chain. At the end of this Thursday meeting, Mayor Fampu reminded all those present to prepare for October 7 and perform their civic duties. Today, October 9, the indigenous population is celebrated worldwide. Back here in Cameroon, the indigenous people are still suffering from limited representation and social integration. Though government is devising strategies to remedy the situation, the role of these nature conservers needs to be emphasized. More in this report.
The Pygmies, as they are well known, constitute three different communities which occupy about 172,000 kilometers square land surface area in the northern and southern parts of Cameroon. These hunter-gatherers, made of the Barkas with about 40,000 people, live in a 75,000 kilometers square surface area in the east and south regions. Another pygmy community, the Bakola Bagili, is made of about 3,700 persons residing in a 12,000 kilometer square surface area in the coastal southern part of Cameroon, while the Bedzan, made of less than 1 million, occupy the forest area in the central region of Cameroon. All these pygmy communities represent about 0.4% of the population, unlike the Mbororos, with about 12% out of Cameroon's over 20 million estimated population. The Mbororos are found around the national territory with a high concentration of over 38,000 people in the northwest region. Be it pygmies, Mbororos or Kidis, these indigenous people have common challenges: land exploitation, forcing them to migrate, lack of political representation, and limited access to social services. The government of Cameroon, under the Ministry of Social Affairs, has for the past 9 years been working on how to integrate the Aboriginal people in the outside world. Celebrations of the day set aside to acknowledge indigenous people have shifted from no marginalization to socio-economic inclusion. According to some researchers, these people, more often neglected, could help a great deal in nature conservation, given that they still solely depend on the soil for food, natural plants for remedies. In essence, fighting deforestation and other woodland activities. The indigenous people, known to be those who have preserved their traditional systems of living through ages, occupy, own, or use some 22% of the global land area, numbering between 370 to 500 million persons in Africa, Oceania, the Americas, and the Arctic region.
Let's go back to the south region of the country, where the Minister of Housing and Urban Development, Jean-Claude Mwenchu, visited low-cost houses. He went down to evaluate work done so far. Let's get more in this extract of the minister.
Very satisfied of what I'm seeing. yesterday in Sambilma and today in Ebolova. Yesterday was 52 local housing. Today is 100. It's a small town with the building here, and we have housing. We have also schools who are building. We have maternity. We have hospital. It's a good thing, and we notice that work has been carried out with very professional matter. But we are going now to see how far we are going to make this housing be available. That is very important.
Let's get news out of Cameroon with VOA.
Kids are addicted to cell phones, tablets, anything with electronic screens. The problem is, it's bad for their eyes.
But what we're beginning to see is now with the use particularly of screens, so digital screens, tablets, smartphones, that actually even children are reporting dry eyes.
Tears contain oil. In this YouTube video, the doctor is pointing out the oil glands that are in the eyelid.
The tear film on the front of your eye is there all the time, not just when you cry. It's less than 1/10 of the thickness of a human hair, but without it you wouldn't see at all.
With kids spending more time in front of a screen, for pleasure and for school, many may be at risk without knowing it.
When you concentrate very hard on a task, such as on a computer screen, you blink less. And also, instead of fully blinking, you partially blink. And so what's happening is damage is being done to the front of the eye.
Tears aren't being produced. They evaporate and leave behind the salty content of the tear, which can do further damage to your eyes. But now there's an app to diagnose dry eyes. At this demonstration in London, the app asks users to answer simple questions to determine how long they can comfortably stare at a computer screen without blinking.
We're actually using the technology that potentially could cause problems if you use a lot of it to actually help us with the diagnosis.
Those who tried the app are then tested for dry eye. But doctors say, even if you don't have the app, make sure to blink fully and blink often whenever you're in front of a tablet or computer screen, and remind your children to do the same. Carol Pearson, VOA News.
In sports, Clarence Seedorf and his assistant Patrick Kluivert are right now in Yaoundé in the presence of Sports Minister Pierre-Ismaël Bidonkwat to sign their contracts that would last for about 2 years. But the two men to henceforth lead the male national team are here to begin acquainting themselves with their new environment. Nevertheless, challenges awaiting these two are enormous, as our reporter John Paul Sama tells us more in the upcoming report.
The long wait is now finally over as the vacant technical bench of the indomitable Lions is now occupied. The stakes for these two Dutch tacticians have never been this high as they venture into uncharted waters for their first experience in African football. Clarence Seedorf and his assistant Patrick Kluivert are coming into a victory-hungry country where defeats are not well digested by the fans who see football as a way of life. At a time when the country is preparing to host the continent's finest breeds of footballers for the 2019 Soccer Showdown, the work of these two is even more crucial as Cameroon are the defending African champions. With barely 11 months to the start of the competition, the new head trainers of the Lions will have just 4 FIFA-friendly windows to conduct their selection and instill the winning spirit of the Lions, which seems to have been overshadowed by dismal performances. 11 months to build a team for the African Cup of Nations on home soil, a challenge that Seedorf will be fancying owing to the fact that he has coached a couple of European clubs and has experience at his side. He has been in charge of AC Milan in the Italian Serie A and sacked after just 4 months in charge for picking up 35 out of a possible 57 points. He also had a 5-month stint at Chinese outfit Shenzhen FC before being replaced for not gaining promotion to the Chinese first-tier championship, after which he found himself at Brazilian club Atlético Paranaense before landing a top seat at Deportivo de La Coruña in Spain, but unfortunately failed to keep them afloat in the La Liga. And now he is and coach of the Indomitable Lions of Cameroon after an illustrious career with club and country with trophies to his name. He has at his side Patrick Kluivert, a man who also accomplished a lot as a player and helped Netherlands finish third at the 2014 FIFA World Cup. Their first challenge awaits them this September when they will be engaged in their first FIFA international friendly game.
John Paul Sama bringing us to the end of today's 8 p.m. newscast. Thank you so much for watching. Stay in the company of our programs.